Right, so today I want to talk about the whole Joe Biden, Tara Reid situation. Now, if you're not aware of it, which again most people probably are by now, it came out like a couple weeks ago. But um, if you're not aware, like I say, basically the whole situation goes when Joe Biden was a senator, I believe in 1993. Tara Reid alleges that he, sexually assaulted her, and the big point I want to get at here is this just goes to show just how hypocritical the left is. And for the simple reason that remember Brett Kavanaugh, I mean, remember Trump. I mean, you take the Kavanaugh example, there was literally no evidence whatsoever to back up Ford's claims, like none whatsoever. In fact, she said, yeah, my friend will corroborate me, this friend will corroborate my story. None of them did. In fact, most of them said, no, this literally didn't even happen. The person that was doing the investigation literally said that if someone came to us, in other words, they didn't even have enough evidence to even investigate further, let alone make an arrest. That's just how little evidence that she had. In other words, like I say, she was making it up. It's literally blatantly obvious to anybody with half a brain. Now, the difference between this allegation and the Blasey Ford allegation is this one, there's at least some evidence. And for the simple reason that um, the Larry King, number one, she filed a report at the time of at the time, and number two, there was a Larry King interview where Tara Reid's mom called in and talked about the whole situation. Now, that doesn't mean that isn't proof at all. And I mean, I know that the statute of limitations has ran out, so Biden could not be charged criminally. Now, the problem is that if he actually did do it, well, he probably shouldn't be the nominee. So, and like I said, the whole point I wanted, the main point of this is this just goes to show just how partisan, just how manipulative, and just how big of liars the left is. For the simple reason that they were willing to destroy Kavanaugh's life over an accusation that had literally no evidence whatsoever to back it up. There's no debating that. Again, no debating that. I don't care what you say. Um, and on the other hand, they're ignoring an allegation where there's at least some evidence. Now, I want to point out that I don't think that Biden's life should be destroyed. I simply think that there is at least some evidence here. Again, if you were to tell me to bet money on whether or not it happened or not, I don't know. I think it's probably pretty much 50-50. But at least there's some evidence to go off of. Like I say, there's at least something. And like I say too, if something like this did happen, whether it's the Blasey Ford case or the Reid case, the fact that you told people at the time and there's at least some evidence to corroborate that just is one of the most likely scenarios for anyone looking at it from a critical thinking point of view to try and decide, hey, did this actually happen or not? So that's the thing I would point out. And like I said, the main point here is that this just goes to show that the left has zero principle whatsoever. It's all just power, power, power. We want power. That's all they care about. That's all they care about. And the fact that so many people on the right were willing to throw Kavanaugh under the bus just goes to show that it's not quite the same. Like it's not the same. Like it's not the same whatsoever. It's not the same. So again, the main point of this that I wanted to point out is that this just goes to show that the left doesn't care about this kind of stuff. They don't actually care. They just care about power. And the fact that they're so short-sighted and naive to think that, hey, you know, if you simply throw out an accusation, people's lives should be destroyed. Well, guess what's going to happen? People are going to do it against you too. But the thing to point out is that their belief system is basically, if we accuse a right wing politician, then he must be guilty, and if we accuse a left wing politician, he's never guilty. Like that's literally their argument. And like I say too, for anybody trying to debate, simply point stuff like this out, and if they don't acknowledge that rank contradiction, then it's not even worth trying. Because again, most of these people on the left, you literally can have an elephant in the room that beats their argument, that debunks their argument, and they won't acknowledge that. And that's the problem with politics nowadays. And there's people on the right that are like that too. I'm not saying that that's not true. I'm just saying that the fact that so many people were willing to throw Kavanaugh under the bus that are on the right when there was no evidence whatsoever to back up the claims against him just goes to show that the right aren't clearly as partisan as the left. And again, you have ABCs and CNNs of the world literally admitting it. Like, yeah, we're harder on Trump than Fox is on the Democrats. So again, they're literally admitting it. Like, come on, it's not a conspiracy theory or any of that crap. Like, they're literally admitting it. So like I say, this just goes to show that the left has no character, no morals, nothing whatsoever, no ethics. It doesn't even exist. It doesn't cross their mind. All they care about is power, and this is why people need to wake up to this too. That if you can accuse people and destroy their lives with no evidence, that is a terribly terrifying world to live in. And I don't want to live in a world like that. And 99.999% of people don't want to live in that. The problem is you have these people who literally think that it should only go one way. And those kind of people are scary as you know what to think about, that people like that exist and that so many of those people exist. So basically, the main takeaway here being is that again, this just goes to show that the whole there's no difference between the left and the right. I think that that's BS. I understand. I absolutely understand what they're saying. I mean, in Canada, you have the conservatives who are, as far left as the conservatives, pretty much, any of the major countries in the world. Like, there's no conservatives that are farther to the left than the Canadian conservatives right now, and so again, it's not a partisan thing. Again, people point out, oh, the right does the same thing. The right does the same thing. Name me one prominent case where someone has accused a left-wing politician of sexual misconduct where it was clearly and obviously made up, or it clearly turned out to be made up, because it happens all the time on the other side. I mean, you look at Kavanaugh, you look at Trump, who literally, why they think that he did this kind of stuff is locker room talk that 95% of men have said at some point in their life. Um, so again, they're willing to accuse, and again, the fact that they need to do this to win just goes to show that they can't win with a level playing field. They can't win with a level playing field. And that's something that I constantly try and point out to people, is that if we just create a level playing field, the left is going to get destroyed. But people refuse to do that. You have the left who, in Canada, we're bringing in over 1 million immigrants every 3 years so they can vote for the left, and the mainstream media is completely biased in favor of the left. The public schools are completely in favor, biased against, in favor of the left. Sorry, the university is completely biased in favor of the left, and yet they still can barely win. Like, that just goes to show just how weak they are. But the reason that they win is they have the rules for radical strategy. It's accuse others of what you're guilty of, which is why I see, it's so predictable and so blatantly obvious. You have these leftists, most of the time it's just a confession of what they're doing. Like, more often than not, it's just a confession of what they're doing. Um, and I think that's part of the reason why they feel justified in doing what they're doing, and that they're like, hey, I'm basically confessing to you by accusing you of doing it. So that I think that's how they, um, how they consciously, and how they don't have a bad conscience, in that, hey, we're accusing you of being racist even though we're implementing racist policies. We're accusing you of being sexist even though we're implementing sexist policies. We're accusing you of being bigots even though we're bigots. Like, come on, guys, it's so obvious. Like, it's so obvious. So anyway, the like I said, the main takeaway here is that if this kind of stuff only goes one way, then where does it end? Like, where does it end? And like I say, people on the right need to wake up to this. And for people on the left, if you're not fully on board completely destroying Joe Biden's life, and you were with Kavanaugh, then again, you have no credibility whatsoever. And again, the overwhelming majority of people on the left were fully on board destroying Kavanaugh's life. And again, investigating him, for years on end is de facto destroying someone's life. Like, let's not pretend that's not the case. So again, that's just the kind of the stuff I wanted to point out. But anyway, like I say, if you're on the right, you really need to wake up and you really need to hold people's feet to the fire more. And like I say, if you're on the left, the only way that I can look at you and not like basically have a laugh you out of the room attitude is that if you acknowledge the elephant in the room being this kind of stuff only goes one way. And if you want to have a cordial discussion between people that when you disagree with people, you have to admit the elephant's in the room. Like you got to do it. So anyway, I'm gonna leave the video there. If you like to, make sure to hit that like and subscribe. Check out my Twitter account. Again, I just got Twitter, so follow me there. Check out my BitChute account. And last thing, check out my PayPal and email. I got linked in the description. Again, appreciate any donations, but at the very least, just hit that like and subscribe.